Remember when food used to be food? Bread was bread, milk came from a cow, and no one asked if your cornflakes were non-GMO or gluten-free. But somewhere between 2010 and today, eating became an extreme sport. Suddenly, every grocery aisle turned into a moral battlefield. Gluten was the devil, GMOs were Frankenstein food, and seed oils were apparently plotting against humanity. So how did our dinner plates turn into sources of existential dread? Let's chew on the rise of food fear, right here, on History of Food. The 2010s were supposed to be the decade of wellness. We got avocado toast, smoothie bowls, kale chips, and entire aisles dedicated to coconut water. But behind the clean-eating glow was something darker, a growing anxiety about what's actually in our food. It wasn't just about calories anymore, it was about purity, labels, and control. Suddenly, everything had to be organic, natural, free-range, grass-fed, dairy-free, soy-free, and preferably blessed by a yoga instructor. Social media supercharged the trend. Instagram turned food into performance art, perfectly lit, hashtagged, and filtered to death. But the more we tried to eat clean, the more we became paranoid about what dirty meant. Let's start with the poster child of 2010's food paranoia, gluten. For decades, gluten was just wheat's protein. It gave bread its chewiness, pasta its stretch, and pizza its soul. Then, somewhere around 2011, gluten went from harmless carb glue to public enemy number one. It started when books like Wheat Belly and Grain Brain claimed gluten caused everything from weight gain to brain fog to emotional instability. Celebrities jumped on board, and suddenly gluten-free became a lifestyle. Restaurants scrambled to add GF menus, grocery stores built entire sections around it, and people started side-eyeing bagels like they were loaded guns. Here's the reality. Only about 1% of the population actually has celiac disease, the autoimmune disorder that makes gluten dangerous. Another small group is sensitive to it. But the rest of us? We're mostly fine. Cutting out gluten won't magically make you feel cleaner, unless you were rolling around in flour beforehand. Next up, GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. The idea of scientists tinkering with DNA in our food sounded straight out of a sci-fi horror movie, and that's how it was marketed. Frankenfood. Activists claimed GMOs would destroy ecosystems, poison our bodies, and give us mutant tomatoes that glow in the dark. But the truth? GMOs were never designed to hurt us. They were meant to help. Crops that resist pests, survive droughts, and yield more food. In fact, nearly 90% of corn, soy, and cotton grown in the U.S. today are genetically modified, and we've been eating them for decades without any solid evidence of harm. Scientists around the world, from the World Health Organization to the American Medical Association, agree that GMOs are safe. But fear sells better than facts, and in the 2010s, non-GMO became the new badge of purity. You could find it in everything, even products that never contained GMOs in the first place. Looking at you, non-GMO salt. The irony? Some of the same people who swore off GMOs were happily eating strawberries the size of apples, made possible by traditional, but still genetic, crossbreeding. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the grocery store, the 2020s introduced a new antagonist: seed oils. Soybean, sunflower, canola, safflower. These oils have been in our kitchens for decades. But suddenly, online health gurus started calling them toxic and inflammatory. TikTok nutritionists warned that seed oils were the root cause of obesity, heart disease, depression, and possibly the fall of civilization. So, what's the deal? Seed oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which in excess can cause inflammation. But inflammation isn't automatically evil. It's part of how our body heals. The problem isn't seed oils themselves, it's the overuse of processed foods that contain them. Blaming seed oils for modern illness is like blaming your spoon for making you overweight. They're just tools. It's how we use them that matters. And by the way, If you've eaten anything fried, baked, or packaged in the last decade, congratulations, you've survived the seed oil apocalypse. Here's the weird part. We live in a time with more food science than ever before. We can trace supply chains, test for contaminants, and analyze nutrients to the decimal point. Yet, people trust influencers over scientists. A TikTok with moody lighting and the caption, "This is poison," will get millions of views, while an actual research paper explaining why it's safe gets ignored. We've replaced nuance with panic and logic with hashtags. There's even a term for this now, chemophobia, the irrational fear of chemicals. The irony, of course, is that everything is made of chemicals. Water is a chemical. Air is a chemical. Chocolate is a delicious collection of chemicals that make us happy. But once you slap a long, scary word on a label, say sodium benzoate, people panic, even if it's harmless in small amounts. It's like being afraid of someone named Gregory just because his name sounds formal. No, seriously. At the height of the gluten-free craze, some brands actually marketed gluten-free water. Because apparently some people needed reassurance that water, the one thing literally incapable of containing gluten, was safe to drink. It's a perfect example of how the wellness industry can take a legitimate concern and stretch it into absurdity. What started as awareness turned into marketing gold. Gluten-free, non-GMO, and seed oil-free became less about science and more about selling you something. Food in the 2010s also became an identity. Paleo, keto, vegan, carnivore, you name it. People didn't just eat differently, they joined movements. Your diet wasn't just your meal plan, it was your personality, your brand, your dating filter. You could lose friends over a slice of bread. And while these lifestyles can have real health benefits, they also create echo chambers where anyone eating differently is wrong. Eating became moralized, and fear became currency. The result? A generation that knows more about food than ever, but is more confused and anxious about eating it. Here's the twist. The problem was never gluten, GMOs, or seed oils. The problem was fear itself. We became so obsessed with purity that we forgot the point of food, to nourish, to share, to enjoy. The obsession with clean eating ironically made eating feel dirty. And that's the real danger. Not what's on our plate, but how we think about it. Because food fear doesn't just ruin dinner, it ruins our relationship with eating. The truth is, the safest diet isn't about eliminating entire food groups. It's about balance, moderation, and listening to your own body instead of the loudest influencer on your feed. So the next time someone tells you that seed oils are poison, or that your sandwich is a gluten-laced death trap, just smile, take a bite, and remember, your body's smarter than clickbait. In the end, the 2010s gave us both kale smoothies and chaos. It taught us to care about what we eat, but maybe care a little too much. Maybe the next era of food isn't about fear or fads. It's about rediscovering joy in eating again. Not counting, restricting, or labeling, just enjoying. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.